Hey guys, I'm the one you lost, and in this video I'm going to show you how I went from this to this. So, this particular artwork was one that I wanted to try because I don't do a lot of laying down poses, but when I do, I like to kind of put emphasis on the squish of the breasts. But, funny enough, I couldn't figure out whether or not on Twitter if the algorithm didn't like the breasts or if they didn't like the stomach, because apparently, a stomach is treated as a sexual thing. I should probably know that by now because of how long I've been on Twitter and how people kind of go, ooh, the belly, and then the eyes go back like the wolf, like Awooga. But, sorry, that was a little weird. But it's one of those things that, I really enjoy doing casual athletic wear. I think it looks pretty cool, like very cute. I also think dresses are cute, but sometimes you just want to go with some casual things. You can see very early on that I didn't quite know how to do the pose. I wanted to make the waist kind of arc a bit like she's laying down, but getting the anatomy correct was actually pretty difficult because I wasn't exactly sure how to do it. So you can see I'm using the liquefy tool a lot to kind of adjust the proportions to fit the body. Because right now, her torso is super long. In fact, I think even in the finished project, the torso was way too long. You know, the abdomen as well. She just feels like she's elongated. She's almost like a ferret right now, you know what I mean? But I do some adjustments and I kind of try to fix the body type a bit. I don't think I got it perfect, but I think I got it passable enough to where people wouldn't notice unless I told them. And now I've told you, so now that's probably all you can see, so sorry in advance. But for the most part, it's correct enough to where I don't need to kind of stress myself out trying to get it perfect. Later down the line, as I improve, I'll probably be fixing things to be a lot more anatomically correct. But for now, practice is just what I'm going to have to do to get better. You can see I did a lot of adjusting even after the basic pose was done because it looks kind of awkward. And it's one of those things that until you improve and fix it up and get used to the new poses you're doing, they're gonna look a little bit awkward. And I've learned to kind of embrace the awkwardness in my art when I'm trying new things, because if I focus too hard on getting it perfect, what's going to happen is I'm never gonna actually learn it. I need to let my brain reset every now and then and just make sure I get the idea out. That's all I need to do whenever I start, is get the idea out. You'll notice that I drew the guidelines for the face. The reason I do that on the face and not the body is because I always want to make sure I'm placing the eyes correctly. And to place the eyes correctly, guidelines really help. For example, the flat part of the head, the eye socket ends right where the flat part begins. Eyes are about an eye length apart from each other. As long as you get those basics down, you can place eyes pretty easily. Especially in a 3/4 view where the eyes, there's a little divot right here where the eye socket is. You can kind of see it bend and go into the cheekbone. And the reason why it's good to think about that while you're drawing is because it'll help you place things more correctly. The mouth starts right where the cheek is in the middle, and the nose is in the middle of in between the eyes and the mouth, and the mouth is in between the nose and the chin. Now the eyes are directly in the middle of your face, so that's basically the rundown of the anatomy of the face and the facial structure. A lot of people practice by drawing the skull. I actually don't think you need to do that. I think it's a good way to learn the skull, but I don't think it's wholly necessary to make your stuff look better. But it is good to take notes of key areas in the face. But anyway, while I was rambling, we were getting the base colors in, and overall, I really like the base colors I chose for this particular art. Very desaturated. We're going to add color back in later through post-processing, which is a trick that I like to use. We use things like tonal curve, color balance, and a few bits of level correction. And that will actually breathe life back into the colors for you. So I actually recommend, and this is why I use desaturated colors, because we can always add color back in later using post-processing. Oh, goodness. I've been rambling for a bit, so I actually had to take a breath there. But we have the basic idea for what we're doing with the shading for the body. We are trying to make sure we emphasize the rib cage and stomach itself. We were also focusing on the hips and following the shadow path of the arm. The light is coming from on top of her, where later on I'll actually be drawing a background where it's like a windowsill and a bit of color into the background with the sky and the trees. But now we are doing the clothes, and I am super proud of how I did the clothes on this one. They're a lot more detailed than my typical clothes rendering, and I'm very, very proud of how I did them here. They're not 100% correct, but it has so much detail in a good way. You know what I mean? I actually would recommend, before you start adding lots of detail, to get used to adding little detail. The more you can do with a little bit of detail, the better, because as you learn to get a lot done with very few bits of detail, you can start adding it later and learn what to pull away and what to put back in. So you always want to start off small and do gradual steps. Actually, many artists do this, including myself, where we start to get used to using lots of details, and then we go back and we simplify later. So you get good at doing a bunch of details, but then it starts to look cluttered, so you pull back. And like most things in life, it's about contrast. Whereas music, if you have a loud part, it's only going to sound loud if there's a quieter part beforehand. It's the same thing with rendering. You have a lot of detail. Well, you want your focus to have a lot of detail, and you want the stuff that you don't want focus on to have tiny bits of detail. What that does is it provides contrast and interest to where you want people to look. Composition, colors, contrast, values, all these things work in tandem to make an art look complete and finished. So that's a bit of some things that I learned over the years as I've been studying and getting better at drawing. But here we have the bed sheet. Now, personally, I do think the bed sheet is a little bit bland. In fact, it looks kind of incorrect in places, but, you know, I'm actually not that good at drawing fabric. I'm going to be 100% honest. So I'm basically just going to be honest and say I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm going to be real about that. So we have the basic idea here. We have the full-on rendering, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start adding processing and little details to everything. So we're kind of adjusting things. We're adding some... right here, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for my clothes texture brush, and I could not find it for the longest time. We're setting the blending mode to multiply to add little grainy textures to it. That is how I get that fabric-y looking soft fabric texture. And if you want to know where that brush is, I'll try to leave a link in the comments if you ask me to. We're using Cloud Brush here, and just some cheaty leaf brushes that I found on Clip Studio Paint's asset store. And now we're adding an add glow layer, some little interesting details in the background to kind of guide the composition just a little bit more. We're adding add glow, and here pretty soon there's the tonal curve to kind of balance the colors, some color balance to bring it all together. We're adjusting the opacity of it to kind of just bring it just enough. We're then blurring parts of it and then erasing the blur where we want people to look. Finally, some chromatic abrasion, and that is how I made this artwork. If you enjoyed this video and put up with my rambling, thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!